Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Coloring and Storybook, published by Grand Dreams Limited. Once upon a time, a little girl lived in a house on the edge of a forest. She was so pretty and had such lovely long golden hair that her mother and father called her Goldilocks. Every morning, while her mother brushed her daughter's hair, she said, "Goldilocks, you can go outside to play, but don't go near the forest or you may get lost." One sunny morning, before breakfast, Goldilocks was picking flowers when she noticed some beautiful pink ones growing along the side of a winding path leading into the forest. In her excitement, Goldilocks quite forgot what her mother wanted. She wandered further and further into the forest, collecting more and more flowers and listening to the birds singing in the trees. Suddenly, Goldilocks realized that she was surrounded by trees and many paths leading in all directions. She had no idea which one would take her home. She felt very sad and lonely. She was about to cry when she saw smoke rising above the trees. She ran towards the smoke, and there in a clearing stood a little cottage with blue curtains and bright blue door. Now, although Goldilocks didn't know, this cottage belonged to the three brown bears. Daddy Bear was the biggest, then there was Mommy Bear, who was middle-sized, and a very small bear, who was Baby Bear. That morning, Mommy Bear had made some lovely porridge for breakfast. But when Daddy Bear tasted his, he had said, "This porridge is too hot. It has burned my tongue. Let's go for a walk while it's cooled down." And that is why there was no answer when Goldilocks tapped on the cottage door. "I am sure no one will mind if I go in," she thought. So in she went. All was quiet except for the crackling of the fire. Looking around the kitchen, Goldilocks saw 3 steaming bowls on the table. There was a big bowl, a middle-sized bowl, and a very small bowl. They were all filled with porridge and smelled delicious. Feeling very hungry, Goldilocks picked up a spoon and tasted the porridge in the big bowl. It was very hot. The middle-sized one was too cold, but the small one was just right, so she gobbled up the porridge. Round the table were 3 wooden chairs, and as Goldilocks was also feeling rather tired, she decided to sit down on one of them and wait for someone to return so that she could ask the way home. The first chair that she sat on was too high. The second chair, the middle-sized one, was too soft. The last chair was a very small one, and as she sat on it, it fell to pieces. When she saw what she had done, Goldilocks was very upset and frightened. But as no one appeared, she decided to have a look around the rest of the house. She tiptoed upstairs. At the top of the stairs was a bedroom with pretty yellow walls and 3 beds, each of which had a green cover on it. There was a big bed, a middle-sized bed, and a very small bed. The big bed was very hard. The middle-sized bed was very lumpy, but when she lay down on the third bed, it was just right. By now, she was feeling very tired indeed, so she lay down and soon fell fast asleep. All this time, the 3 bears had been walking and collecting sticks for the fire. Daddy Bear had collected a big bundle of sticks. Mommy Bear had collected a middle-sized bundle of sticks, and Baby Bear a small bundle. Goldilocks was sleeping quite peacefully when the 3 bears walked up the path to their cottage. As you can imagine, both Mommy and Daddy Bear were surprised to see that the door was open. As soon as the bears stepped into the cottage, they knew that something was wrong. Daddy Bear noticed that his spoon had been used. "Who's been eating my porridge?" he said in a big booming voice. Then Mummy Bear noticed that her spoon was still in her middle-sized bowl. She gasped with surprise and said in her middle-sized voice, "Who's been eating my porridge?" Well, Baby Bear thought he had better look in his very small bowl, and he was not very pleased at what he saw. "Someone's been eating my porridge," he said, "and they've eaten it all up." Teddy Bear was so worried that he sat down very heavily in his big chair. Of course, he knew at once that it had been sudden. "Who's been sitting in my chair?" he said in his big voice. Mummy Bear's chair was not in its usual place, so she knew that it had been sudden. "Who's been sitting in my chair? They have moved it and crumpled my cushion," she said in her middle-sized voice. At first, Baby Bear couldn't see his very small chair, but then he saw it broken into lots of tiny pieces on the floor, and he said, with a tear in his eye, "Who's been sitting in my chair and broken it?" Daddy Bear looked everywhere downstairs, but as he couldn't see what had caused the damage, they all went upstairs. None of them knew quite what they were going to find. "Who's been lying in my bed?" said Daddy Bear in his big voice when he saw his sheets rumpled. "Who's been lying in my bed?" said Mummy Bear in her middle-sized voice when she saw that her pillow had been dented. Baby Bear looked across to his bed and in a small voice squeaked, Whoever has been lying on my bed is still lying there still." On his bed was a little girl with the most beautiful golden hair he had ever seen. When Goldilocks heard Daddy Bear's big voice, she stirred. When she heard Mummy Bear's middle-sized voice, she rubbed her eyes. But when she heard Baby Bear's little squeaky voice, she sat up and stared. Frightened at what she saw, Goldilocks stepped out of Baby Bear's bed, ran down the stairs, straight out of the door, and out into the forest before the bears could catch her. On and on through the forest she ran, not really knowing where she was going. At last she found the right path that led to her home, where her mother greeted her with open arms. Goldilocks never went into the forest on her own again, but sometimes when she went for walks with her mother and father, they looked for the little cottage, but she never found it again. The end.